Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode number 20. We managed to make it to number 20 of the Unfiltered Football podcast. Logcast. I was saying that because I was thinking about saying, what a start, what an intro, by the way. But we keep it like that way. As I was saying, welcome to the Unfiltered Football podcast with myself, Andrea Russo, and Ben Locke. That's why I was saying Lockcast, basically. After a draw away at the new stadium of Everton, of course, so there's a lot to discuss about that game, but also about the latest transfer saga of Jørgen Strand Larsen, who, according to Fabrizio Romano, Ben Jacobs, all the major journalists, and even, of course, the Leeds one discussing, there's a very good tweet by Graham Smith, who I really agreed with, regarding the fact that Leeds need to still explore now after Strand Larsen probably is going to Palace, so there's still time before the transfer window ends, next week. So everybody's talking about the fact that Strand Larsen is probably going and signing for Crystal Palace. But there's more, of course, as always. The scouting reports are basically over. There was a lot of appreciation, and we appreciate that about number 9. He came to life again this morning because of what happened with Strand Larsen. So people were asking about what are the alternatives, and there's quite a few that have gone back to the scouting report, to see them, asked about them. So it's always good to see about that, so may I remind you that we have that episode still on the channel, of course, if you want to get a look and explore what were the alternatives to Strand Larsen according to us. But by the way, when I said may I remind you, reminding me of may I remind you that you got nowhere to go, from the Kaiser Chiefs, coming home. By the way, Lucky, how are you, mate? And actually, talking about the Kaiser Chiefs is something that I've never asked you. I want to ask you now. Which one? What is your favorite musical artist or band?
Ooh. Yeah, I'm all right. First of all, I'm good, mate. Wow, that depends what mood I'm in, honestly.
Yeah.
I like. Honestly, I can like anything from, 90s rap to hip hop, to Linkin Park, to I don't really like modern music. Modern kind of chart music isn't for me. Early 2000s chart music was pretty good when I was growing up, but now not for me. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I have a definite favorite, to be fair. I've been listening to quite a bit of Linkin Park.
Yeah.
Quite a lot of Tupac and Big A. There's a rap artist called NF that I quite like. He makes
I don't know him.
Thought-provoking music. Very good. Very different. He doesn't talk about like jewelry and money and all that. He's very about mental stuff, and he's very good. He's very good. Yeah, very wide range, mate, to be fair. I like a lot of music, to be honest. When I'm working out, I put hard rock on, stuff like that. Motivational music, rapping,
something like that.
A little bit of that, like motivational rapping as well. I'm trying to get in the zone to do something. So a lot, mate. To be fair, I don't really have a favorite. What about you?
Yeah, I have a favorite. I have favorites, by the way. Was blown away last year. When the news came out about Oasis reuniting.
Yeah.
So we tried to get the tickets, me and my friends, but no way. There was no way. Absolutely. I know quite a few people in the space, in the Leeds community that got tickets. So I'm really envious. But Luke, Lewis, all these guys, went to see them. I'm really envious of them, But I thought they were coming to Europe, honestly, this year, 2026. But turns out they are taking a break and probably are touring Europe next year. But absolutely, I went to see Coldplay in Rome last year, actually, or 2024, I don't remember, at the Stadio Olimpico. So I really hope that Oasis too, when they are eventually touring Europe, they're gonna go to the Stadio Olimpico or San Siro. San Siro is probably not, because they're throwing it down to replace it with the new stadium of Inter Milan and AC Milan. But yeah, Oasis are my favorites. I really like a lot. I listen a lot to a lot of alternative Brit, like Kasabian back in the day. Not so much right now. especially also with Serge having Italian heritage, from Liguria. Kaiser Chiefs, I like them a lot. Not just I Predict Right. There's also Every Day I Love You Less and Less, Never Miss a Beat, Ruby. A lot of great songs.
Never Miss a Beat. It's my favorite.
It was on PES. I remember them on Pro Evolution Soccer 2010. But others, I listen a lot to also folk music. I know that they have a passion for history. So I know a lot of songs also from the Balkans, from various countries, But apart from that, I don't listen a lot to Italian music. To be fair, I like Ligabue, I like Cremonini, but my field, my main musical field is, of course, the UK. There's I listen to the Franz Ferdinand too from Scotland. Then like you, I like American music, like Tupac, Biggie, especially with all the history behind it, the unfortunate and tragic history, especially considering that Eat 'Em Up was shot, these two songs, there's a lot of history behind it, and honestly, but I want to make you laugh. I was listening to the radio the other day, and this song came up, female musical artist, and I said, "Well, this is a good rhythm, But I cannot find the name, So I was thinking probably people will think he was living on Mars, these days. So I eventually found out the name, and I said, "No, there's no way I like a song made by an artist that I've never liked, in terms of music, because not because of her, because I actually like the person, but because of the music, it's not my genre,
Is it Taylor Swift?
Yeah, man.
Yep.
Good song though, Fate of Ophelia, very good rhythm,
Nice.
good lyrics too, good lyrics. Probably, I think she wrote that for Travis Kelce. I think he's gonna be he's gonna be her husband soon, the NFL player. But good rhythm. I was surprised by myself. I said, there's no way you are listening to a Taylor Swift song, honestly.
No, but, mate. When I speak to my brother and like younger people that I work with and stuff, and just the music these days, we won't talk about this for long. We'll move on to football in a sec, I promise. It's just, it's all just remixes and remixes of remixes. Like, it's not for me, mate, to be honest. Everything's about, I know it always kind of was about this. Everything's just about how much money I've got and how I'm a gangster, but not back, back in the day, they actually were gangsters. They actually were people you didn't mess with. It meant things, it was real. Now it's just that it's the vision, it's the look. So not for me, mate. I'll stick to my 90s and 2000s music. And
absolutely,
a few artists, a few modern artists, to be fair. But yeah,
90s and 80s, Depeche Mode, New Order, too. There's a lot of good bands. Curiosity Killed the Cat. There's a lot of good Pet Shop Boys. There's a lot of good bands from these days. Of course, Queen.
Of course.
I like, despite being a massive Oasis fan, I like quite a few songs from Blur too, honestly. But I like also the fact when music talking about football, music is connected to football, because I really like what they do at Rangers, for example, where they have all these songs that get the place going, like Heaven is a Place on Earth, the Dutch one, Links Wrecked, basically. Then there's others, connected to every single player, basically, that really get the place going. I remember when I was at Reggiana, I was in charge of the social media, but the speaker, the stadium announcer, was a friend of mine. I appointed him, basically. So I remember us studying basically what we need to do for match day. So we had like a playlist for pre-warm up when the players were arriving, at the stadium, going to the pitch for the first time, and the place was still empty, Then we had like when they were coming out of the tunnel to warm up, we had Welcome to the Jungle.
When
they were coming out, Then we had like a very hard rock, very like you said, when you're walking out, very pump up in a certain sense playlist. Then ending with when we were going out on the pitch with the two teams, we had Victory from Two Steps from Hell. And then the victory song, if we had won the game, at the end of the game, was Final Countdown by Europe. So I really like when football and music connect. By the way, talking about football and music, Liverpool, a lot of history there, with the Beatles. But we're gonna move to football, to the new stadium of Everton, of course. I think the draw was a fair result in the end, mate, because I think we played one of the best first halves we've played this season. Honestly, we were up very, very well, especially creating chances, scoring, especially very well on the right. Going down on the right wing, then eventually scoring with the James Justin, moving well off the ball, especially to get in the final third. DCL missed that sitter, unfortunately. We didn't take our chances, and eventually when Moyes changed, we're going to talk very shortly about this in a few minutes. But when Moyes changed, I think Farke this time, I'm sorry to say, but it's still constructive criticism. We're still having a good run. Just lost once in God knows how many games, and that's very refreshing. I think the last 11, if I remember correctly, after that Man City game, the only loss was the one against at St James's Park, and we all know how it came, how it materialized in the dying seconds of that game, But yeah, I think this time Farke, I don't know about you, but he didn't adapt to the tactical switch when they turned to a back three. Everton turned to a back three, and Moyes made that tactical switch at halftime. We were too deep in our own half. We weren't pressing anymore, and without any press to the back three, we kept going backwards and backwards and backwards into our own half, in terms of balance. I think changes need to happen earlier, because eventually when it changed in the final 5 minutes with the Okafor, with Buonanotte and Stack, Buonanotte, Okafor, and of course Longstaff coming on for Stack, we had fresh legs. We needed fresh legs. We managed to get higher up the pitch, switching to a back four, of course. And we even had chances, with Okafor, Buonanotte, and Longstaff. So I'm very happy with the point. Honestly, it's still a good point away, especially with a good team against Everton. They are a very good team. They were missing also some key players like Grealish and a few others. But still a good point. But we have regrets, honestly, because we scored a second and managed better in the second half. That advantage we surely we would have got the 3 points. I'm convinced, 100% convinced of that, mate. I don't know what is you feel about that performance in general, in with the wider picture. Yeah.
Yeah. For me, again, the first half was extremely good. That, in a strange way, I'm kind of looking at the result going fine, because what I saw from that first half for me is kind of the blueprint of how we need to play now away from home. I think with a little adjustment in terms of when we make changes, if you can provide that first half for one half, if you can get that second goal, assuming Calvert-Lewin scores that second, the way we played in the second half probably would have been all right, just if you're 2-0 up, I think. Because Farke said, and I've got the quote here from Baron Cross, asked him after the game, Farke said, he was tempted to make earlier changes to switch to a 4-3-3, but felt with a clean sheet, holding past 70 minutes, last weekend's clean sheet in their heads, Everton being kept at bay, going for a back four would have been really risky. So at least, to criticise, at least he's given explanation. This is what he was going on in his mind, right? And he's the manager. That's what he thought would happen. At the end of the day, it didn't work fully. They did score from that. What he wanted to do didn't work. And this happens, how many times this season has Pep Guardiola got things wrong? Like you said, the record that we're on as a club, I think it is 11. Is it 11 or 13? I think it's 11, right?
11, yeah, I think it's 11. Yeah.
One loss in 11.
One loss in 11, yeah.
In the Premier League in our first season, by the way.
Yeah.
If you'd have asked anybody, even weeks ago, you think we'll go 1 loss in 11, and that's a 4-3 loss to Newcastle, you'd be like, no, of course not. This is the Premier League. So that's an extremely impressive run. And that's down to, obviously, the players and the manager making good decisions, both tactically and on the pitch, individually and as a team. So he's got most things right recently. In fact, I think you could argue he's outclassed a lot of teams we played against. You could argue that. And in the first half, we did that to Everton as well. And David Moyes is a very good, experienced manager. He knows everything about this league. Now, one thing that stands out to me in every single game is depth. Every single team has more depth than we do. I'm not saying that's our fault, by the way. We've just been promoted, obviously. That's what you're up against. They have the luxury of completely changing a game with the quality being at the same level every single week. Even better, you look at some of the subs that teams bring on every week, it's mental. So we have to really, really adjust our style every week. Not our style, we have to adjust little things every week, adjust the subs, adjust this, adjust that, just so we can keep teams guessing and not be predictable. And we've done that recently to a T. It's been almost perfect, you could say. But yeah, the second half was, you could argue, a situation where what the manager wanted to do didn't work. We were too deep. For me, it was a game that was, I don't think it needed mass. I just think it needed one or two, to be honest. I think a Metro would have helped a lot with DCL.
Yeah.
I think having them two outlets, we've seen it a lot this season where, or even last year as well, where we struggled a little bit to get out from certain situations. And just having, when Bamford came back, for example, that little time he came back, it was just an outlet, wasn't it? And it just worked. Yeah. He'd get the ball up, he'd get the ball high, he'd hold it up, he'd win fouls. We lacked that. Every time we won it back, we were always so deep and the players just booted it long. There was no thought process because there was no outlet. It was just, let's just get it out. And then when we're slow to get out with the ball. So that was a mistake for sure. That was something that we should have done earlier. Metro, for me, changes the game. I think bringing on either Nonto or Buonanotte on earlier as well massively helps that. I think Nonto, for his inconsistencies, can be a good counter-attacking player. He's quick. He can run forward, even off the ball. He gets forward quickly, and he'll win fouls. So yeah, it's frustrating, mate. But we've got so much right in the last few weeks that in this league, you're going to lose out. You're going to make wrong decisions. It's all part of it. But for me, looking at the bigger picture, looking at the way we played in that first half, that's really encouraging to me. Going toe-to-toe every single week with everyone we play it's just something that makes me smile, because every single team is more established. They have better depth. They probably have better individual players. Yeah, more experienced managers at this level. And we're going toe-to-toe with them. At times, we will come short. We will make mistakes. Players will make mistakes. We'll miss chances. Farke will make mistakes. That's part of it. Thankfully, we still got a point away, which in the grand scheme of things is fine. I thought we were going to lose the game, given how it was feeling in the stadium. Well, we're in there, but from watching it, it felt like the crowd woke up and their players were on it, and we looked in big trouble, and we should have made changes. But we got the point at the end of the day, and I'm still quite confident going into the next few home games, to be honest, off the back of that. I can't lie. I know we've got Arsenal next, and I don't know what I'm expecting. But that's the thing. I don't know what I'm expecting. I'm not expecting necessarily them to come and batter us, because they've been poor recently.
Yeah.
If we turn up Ellen Road and we get it, and Farke and the players get it right on the day, and then you get a bit lucky, obviously. If Arsenal come and play well, you don't win. It's as simple as that. But if they're not on it, and we are, and we get everything right in the game, the little decisions in the game, the little tactical changes in the game, if we get them right, the subs right, you've got a chance of getting something against anyone. We've proven that this year. We've shown it. We've shown in the last few weeks we can get results. So
yeah,
it's I'm annoyed a little bit, but at the end of the day, it happens at times. Like I say, Farke's got so much right in the last 6-7 weeks. I can't remember time. A long time. So this one he got wrong in the end, to be fair.
Yeah. Since mid-November, basically. I think it was in mid-November, the Man City game. But yeah, I agree with you. In the end, it was it was 29th of November, the Man City game. So it's basically almost 2 months, and these 2 months we've just lost 1 in 10, 11 including also the FA Cup game at Derby.
Okay.
So every game, we beat Chelsea. We went toe-to-toe with Liverpool. Went toe-to-toe with Man United. Who are still a good side despite their current situation. Now they are surging back with Michael Carrick. Putting a man that knows the place at times really does wonders, because you need to get back to the simple things, and the easiest way, to get back to basics, turn all the negativity aside. Look what's happening to them now, when they are like that apparent. They were treating Amorim as an established genius, football genius when he signed. Then they gave him, like they did with Ten Hag, they were giving him too much time. Then eventually, they got Carrick. Of course, they're gonna try to probably sign a prominent manager at the end of the season, but Carrick knows that he nearly has a chance to stay if he does well, there. But anyway, going back to us, I agree with that, especially the depth. The depth is an issue at times, because at half time, they were at the injuries, they had players missing, and they had Brantwaite off the bench. They put Diebling, and of course Dewsbury-Hall. There were some players returning from injury too. Then they had Barry going out, and they had Beto. They put Beto on for the final minutes, for added time. But they had Beto, two very similar players, So absolutely, they have more depth than us. But considering the situation, especially in the second half, the miss of Gudmundsson, Justin had a very good game, but he scored, of course. He is reliable. He's turning into the new Dallas right now, because basically he's playing everywhere. He's playing as a right wing back, left wing back. I'm really surprised, and that goes also to Farke. Credit to Farke, because in the end, especially looking at the first half, you remember me saying Justin is a fullback. He's a fullback going at this map. He had always played basically either on the left wing, on the left side, on the right side of our back four. At times in emergency he had played also, but quite a few games. Not consistently with Leicester. I'm looking on that side because I have the other monitor. With the graphics. That's why. But yeah, he's adapting well to playing on the right or on the left. So again, it's another credit to Daniel Farke. Same goes with Rutter when he was at Leeds. Same goes with making Pirot in the Championship work in a system that isn't made for Pirot, because Pirot is a player that always was going to struggle in a different system, because he had always played as a target 9, and at Leeds he learned how to be more involved in the build-up in the Championship. Now in the Premier League, it's another topic. It's a different matter, of course. But again, it's down to Farke, the fact that Justin has adapted. And with these forward runs that we've seen at Derby, at Everton, it's not Gudmundsson, of course, and it's not Bogle. It's more conservative, more balanced, But especially when he was at Everton, in that game, he kept going forward, because in the first half, especially, we played a lot of time with the ball down the right-hand side, with Rodon going forward, and Purustin a little more back, and Stack was progressing here, So there were a lot of opportunities to play with a triangle here, Rodon, Stack, and Bogle. Of course, they had Garner more advanced here, and Mikolenko following Bogle in that sense, and Aronson, when the ball was on the other side, this was the tactical thing, that I've noticed. Aronson was always going wide when we had switched. We switched a lot with the ball going from the right to the left, and we had Justin in a position similar to Firpo in the build-up, like last season, more central. It was not overlapping, because, okay, let's keep Aronson wide for the 1v1. And he tried to play the 1v1, tried to take his man on a lot of times, because we overloaded on this side, basically in possession, on the right-hand side, then switched. And there were opportunities on the other side to play the 1v1. So that's a thing that worked, I think, in the first half. And also the fact that when we scored, we eventually overloaded on the right and put the ball in the middle. And Justin had followed through, on that side. So
do you know what? Just say on Justin, mate. The difference between him and Gudmundsson for me, I think what Gudmundsson is, and this is a compliment. Gudmundsson's quite one-dimensional in what he does.
Yeah,
he's very much a straight line runner. He's very, very good at that, and at times unstoppable. He's very good at that. That's why he's here, right? He's very good at that. Justin's, like you said, is a little more varied, a little more balanced. I think Justin's more of a kind of off-the-ball mover, a little 1-2 combination player, as opposed to kind of Gudmundsson, who's very much a knock the ball and sprint after it kind of thing, sprint into the space. Justin's a little more varied. Like you said, he comes narrow a little bit more. He likes to short passes a little bit more, a little more balance in that sense. And I always say this, and people go, he's only done it once, and it was in a friendly or whatever. I don't care. He's played for England, right?
Yeah.
Now, forget who it's against. Forget the process. Think about the process you have to go through to play for England. You have to play well for at least half a season, right, to even get a call up. So the fact that he had a call up is the impressive thing. The fact that he was in a certain form, that he got in at fullback for England. we have very good fullbacks in England. We always have for a long time. So there's a very good player in there. And you mentioned Farke, and he is, whatever you say about Daniel Farke, people can never deny for 1 second that he is not getting every inch out of every one of these players. Look at Aronson.
Yeah.
I had my brother texting me, so, as a Man United fan, saying, "Who's Messi? Who's number 11 Messi?" I went,
Medford Messi.
Yeah, the Medford Messi. This is it. This is the confidence he's playing with, the freedom. He's found his role. He's playing a bit more confident. People criticised the way he played in the second half. Look, that was down to him trying to do something. He wanted to get the team out. He ran into blind alleys. He was trying to do something. It didn't work. That happens, right? That's down to the setup for me. That's not an Aronson thing. And he's confident, so he's going to try these things. But in that first half, he was unbelievable. And Justin was really good for me as well. Look at Strauch, consistency now. He's making less mistakes. He looks so assured. He looks calm.
Yeah.
Even Barnau, for me, I thought Barnau looked very solid in the game.
Yeah, I took Barry on his own, Yeah.
Yeah, it's a tough task. We talk about Ampadu. I mean, I speak about him every week. He's unbelievable. He's
unbelievable, man.
I could do an entire podcast on Ethan Ampadu, so we'll leave it at that. But yeah, I would say, what I will say, just a little bit, just on Bogle very quick. I think there's still more to come from Bogle. I think what Bogle's done well in the Premier League, I think he's settled well. I think he's settled in that role. But I think that's sacrificed his kind of attacking output a little bit because he's found that balance. Now, ideally, in the Championship, Bogle wasn't balanced. He was very attacking, right? He knows in this league, you can't do that. Transitions are a lot quicker. If he's getting forward, he's going to have to get back. He'll be tired by the 50th, 56th minute, So he's found his balance a little bit. Now, he just needs to find, within that balance, he needs to find just that little edge, I think. And then we'll see the best of him. Because he looks good. He looks solid. But we've not quite got the output in the last few months. So that will come for me. But everyone else, you could argue.
And he had the opportunity to shoot too. He didn't shoot, in that sense. I think he could have been a goal there when he decided not to shoot eventually, in the first half. I mean, because he was going a lot. When we played the ball through behind Mikolenko, he had that's quite a few opportunities, to get with the ball. And when he was in this position, and there were some bodies, here in his way, especially because they were closing down, and he had the opportunity to shoot eventually, and he didn't. And that's why, that's what happened in the end. You need to shoot there.
Yeah, it's them little. What is it? Is it? I don't think it's confidence because he's clearly a confident player. I think it's just understanding his new kind of role, and I guess in the Championship he could do anything and kind of get away with it. Whereas at this level, if you try a Megs, for example, halfway up the pitch, and it doesn't come off, they're going to counter on you in 3 or 4 seconds, and it could be a goal. So I think it's just that little balance thing that he needs to figure out. But he's still been very good this year. Just a little thing that he can maybe up his game. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I remember me and you talking at the start of the season when we were playing with the back four, and it was our more offensive-minded one because Gudmundsson was more conservative at the start. Gudmundsson really made the switch after that. He had already started to get to know better. The league, of course, a different intensity, the requirements, to play in the Premier League. But eventually, after the switch to a back three, that's when he really stepped his game up. Bogle had always been consistent, and even had some problems, of course. But I remember me and you talking he really has a chance if he can keep this consistency at the start of the season. Eventually, he didn't because he had that injury problem, that physical problem, muscular, I think it was. He really could have had a chance when we were speaking at the start of the season to get into the England setup, at the time. So, of course, you still have good fullbacks, good wingbacks, But in the future, if you can keep that consistency. I remember there were talks about Ayling getting a call up when the first season we went up, because he was playing in a similar way to Bogle. But the problem is, you are a returnee in this case to the Premier League, keeping that consistency. And another thing is, I remember cannot remember, was it Boris Becker probably? One German former, athlete. I think it was Boris Becker. When we were playing in a game, I think it was against Liverpool maybe, or Liverpool or Chelsea, and Stack had a great game that day. I think it was Boris Becker, that tweeted eventually if Nagelsmann need to have a look at this German player, playing.
It was
in Leeds. And another thing, I think it was the difference, between the first half and the second half was the role of Stack, because Stack did a lot of obscure work, especially with the through balls, being in the right position, always with his off the ball positioning, getting forward, because they played a lot of through balls to him in order to bypass their midfield line, and he dictated a lot of play towards the wings, especially towards Bogle, of course, because the majority of the play came from the right hand side, in the first half. In the second half, after they switched to a back three, we can show that not right now to see what I really mean, because at half time, they throw Armstrong off. Then Armstrong off and Braithwaite came on, of course, and he was playing here. Then the other one was McNeil off, of course, and they put Dewsbury all in. And the final one was after that, when they throw Patterson out, and they brought on Liebling. Beto came on for the added time, basically. So yeah, after their switch, basically, we're playing with Gay, Garner. Dewsbury was playing in a more center free roll area, with Ndiaye on the other side, and Barry, and they had Diebling playing more advanced, because they had Mikolenko on that side. So it turned like into a 3-4-3, very similar to it was like, we call that mirroring, they had mirrored the way we play usually, and that's the problem, because eventually, Bogle was forced to stay further back when we were in possession. So when we were not in possession, basically our setup was like that, because they had Diebling this time and Justin was forced to stay back. We had Gruev and Ampadu so close to our midfielders, and yet the Ndiaye here, Barry. Dewsbury was playing more towards this situation. They had Gay, Garner, Diebling was on this side, and Stack, he was here, but he had Garner, sometimes going behind him, so he was staying like in no man's land, and you had Calvert-Lewin up front and just Aronson wide, lost, because they had kind of, they had gained ground after the switch to the back three. So when they were in possession, we were too deep in our own half, and the main threat was the Stack and no players near him to dictate the tempo and switch the play like he did in the first half. Because I remember we usually talked, me and you, during the games, I said to you, Stack is in no man's land. Aronson is too wide, all on his own. The emoji agrees with me. Yeah, when we need to try the one that happened, that the one that happened after we finished his tactical talk, So Calvert-Lewin, we were just going for the long ball, and he had Tarkowski, he had Brentwaite, he had O'Brien. He was moving all around trying to get the ball, but yet he was all alone. He had no players near him. That's the other difference from the first half. And we had Ampadu and Groove basically. Like I remember texting to you, I said we have Ampadu and Groove in front of ball now. It's like we're playing with 6 defenders. Because they were playing like in front of him. They had no space between them because they had because if you are too deep, you have then Gay, Garner, Ndiaye, and Dewsbury were moving. Ndiaye was making runs wide. Dewsbury was going more like an advanced playmaker. Like Aronson usually does. Dewsbury was a great difference maker. For them. When he came on in the second half for me. The thing for us was that Stack was in no man's land, and we needed to press the back line. Calvert-Lewin was lost. We had no players to press the back line when they were in possession, so they had all the freedom in the world, to dictate the tempo. So what happened eventually, with the Stack going off, Longstaff coming on, the switch with Bornau took off. Of course, before these two, Farke in the 66th minute, he changed and put Gruev off and Tanaka on, because he wanted a player capable of, okay, we recover the ball, we have Tanaka that's capable of progressing with the ball, running, carrying the ball, to get out of this pressing, this offensive setup of Everton. But he really struggled to get into the game because he reminded me a lot of the Brighton game, to be fair. We were playing with a back four then, but in possession, he was a lot under pressure, very similar to the Brighton game. Then eventually we switched because the substitution of Tanaka unfortunately didn't work this time, because in this case really struggled to read the game compared to other games. So
Tanaka's I was going to say Tanaka's that's why you do that. Tanaka's is a player that suits a game where his team's in possession or they have momentum of the ball. Is not a player you want to bring on when you're literally sitting deep and soaking up pressure. That's not his game at all. I just want to, it's interesting though, because this is my point, right? So we were deep, but I don't have a problem with that necessarily. For me, it's the intensity within that. So when we were deep, everything was in front, which is fine. But like you said, you had 2 or 3 players that were pressing individually. For me, that didn't make sense. For me, they should drop deep. So everyone is behind the ball. And then you can kind of have like a mid block, but within that mid block, you can be aggressive. You can press within the mid block because everyone's closer together, if that makes sense. So the second Dewsbury Hall got the ball, then you can have 2 or 3 players around him to put pressure and press, or you can cut the passing lanes and stuff like that. But we didn't. We always seem to have one less player because we were so deep, and we always had 2 or 3 that would be on the ball that tried pressing. So then when we did win it back, them 3 or them 2 was it what Calvert-Lewin or Aronson were so tired from it pressing individually that they were never really in the position to counter. And that's where the changes need to be.
Absolutely.
Intensity needed to be higher from the players' perspective. They needed to show more intensity. But also the changes need to be earlier so we could, I guess, apply that intensity because the players were tired, some of them, right? It's a lot of work. But that's like we've talked about this. This happens. This is football. This is why we're here talking,
Yeah, absolutely. It's like, when you're playing chess, you try to get into the head of your opponent, to get its next moves. In this case, Moyes got the better out of Farke in the second half. Farke got the better out of Moyes in the first half. But eventually, if you just look at the second half, we probably deserve to lose. But the draw is a fair result because of the first half. But eventually, when we made the switch, it was too late. I agree with you when you say the changes needed to happen earlier, because eventually, even for 5 minutes, of course, Everton were knackered because they had spent a lot of energy trying to score. After they scored with Barry, they were looking for a second, and they were very, very near to a second goal. To get the advantage over us. So they were really offensive-minded. After the change in the final 5 minutes, Longstaff had opportunities, and when he was in this position, when the ball came to him, when to the other side, when Okafor, I think it was Okafor or Buonanotte, played the ball to him, coming, and it was all alone basically here, and he needed to do better there. He didn't get the shot on target there, because he went far wide. You need to do better, and Okafor had a chance because he was really threatening on that side. With the 1v1 on that side, he had a chance, to get inside, shoot, and get an opportunity. And even Buonanotte was playing in a free role, Longstaff, of course, was more balanced, but he was making runs, towards this line, because Garner, I think what happened to Garner was that he was like stuck after the Everton switch, after we switched, Garner was like him, it was in no man's land, Longstaff quite a few times made the run behind him, and he was free to have a shot on target. Eventually he didn't, but it was Garner's duty to follow him there, And of course, the battle between the fullbacks was even, the wingbacks in this case, because of course, Mikolenko was playing as a wingback. Bogle was more conservative, but he had switched to a back 4, so was a little bit higher, compared to Justin. Tanaka still was struggling to get a grip, because like you said, he really suits us when we are in possession. And it was like transition to transition, was like a game of tennis in a certain sense, that those final 5 minutes, But eventually, at the switch happened earlier, we probably would have scored, because Okafor had the chance, Buonanotte had a chance, Longstaff had a chance, because eventually Farke got the subs right, the setup right, when he adapted. But the problem is he adapted too late for the final 5 minutes, So in the end, that's what happened, and it's a pity because probably if he had changed earlier, we probably would have been in control of the game,
Yeah, the subs are weird because you think about the game, right? So we were sitting really deep, so naturally you're assuming that Farke didn't make the changes because I'm assuming, obviously, when we conceded, he did think we'll be okay. We can see this game out. But then made the changes in the 85th minute. Were those changes made, do you think, to try and win the game? Or was it him realising at that point, or maybe we won't see the last 5 minutes out? But surely that feeling I don't know. Look, like I said, we're watching it on TV from a different view, different angle. You're not at the stadium. You're not talking to the players. But from where we were sitting and looking, it seemed like what was happening when the subs were made was also happening 15 minutes earlier. It was the same situation. They kept attacking, right? So I'm trying to figure out the intent. And if he did do it for that reason, how come we didn't see it earlier? Do you think that's just down to him? I guess looking from a psychological, like he said to Baron Cross in the thing, in the tweet after the game, not in the tweet, in the press conference, which was tweeted by Baron Cross. Do you think it's him trusting these players on the pitch? Because he said it was 0-0 at 70 minutes. It was 1-0 at 70 minutes. I thought it'd be all right. But then maybe too comfortable in that. Because from our perspective, although I trust the players, from my perspective, looking at the game, it felt like we were going to concede and lose the game.
Yeah.
Even though we were winning. So interesting kind of, I don't know. I don't know what you think about that.
No, I'm pretty. I have a clear mind about that. To be fair, I think he really trusted Aronson and DCL. But the problem is that that sometimes managers have like really trust and have like a hard mentality.
Yeah, of course.
On certain players, like I really believe in them. They're gonna. They know what they need to do. They did that at Newcastle, because we scored. We created chances on the counter. Into transitional play a lot, but eventually, remember in that game, he put Mecha on, and Mecha had chances. Mecha helped us to stay a little bit higher. Eventually, we conceded because of defensive mistakes as St. James's Park, but I think that's the case. I think he reminding of what happened with Newcastle. He was saying, okay, if we gain the ball and manage to get the ball to Calvert-Lewin, Aronson is capable of creating something out of that. The problem is that they were not pressing, and Aronson was all alone on the left. Basically, he was moving out of staying behind Calvert-Lewin, because he wanted to get a free space where he could have still controlled the ball, create something. DCL was forced to move all over the final third, all over the offensive line to try to win an aerial duel. Eventually, Tarkowski was better than him. So that's the case for me. He really trusted them to create something, but eventually realized too late that he needed to change, because I don't think he changed, okay, let's win the game. That's the main thing. Of course, you change it to try to, when you are 1-0, to try to change and win the game. But the main thing for me was we are too much under pressure. We are not getting out. Their centre backs keep progressing higher and higher up the pitch. Their wing backs are playing like wingers into our own half. So let's try to get the pressure out to get some breathing, some space, to our defenders. And that's why he changed, because eventually he realized, okay, maybe if we recover the ball and we have runners, players capable of running with the ball, fresh legs, Buonanotte, Okafor, and of course also Longstaff. Of course, is not the most talented runner, but eventually he followed the play too. So the thinking was right. The problem was, because eventually it got us out of that pressure, because they would have scored. They did not change. Probably they would have scored like at Newcastle. We would have conceded like we did at Newcastle, for different reasons, of course. In that case, in this case specifically, because in the end Newcastle, it was more transitional, one side to the other. Here it was all Everton, basically. It was all Everton. Then it changed. It turned into transitional. It got the pressure out of our own half, out of our defense. But we had chances. They had chances. We had the more concrete chances for me. The problem is what was too late. The thinking was right. The timing was bad. Was wrong.
So this is what's interesting, because I think every single person that was not maybe Daniel Farke and his coaching staff, and maybe the players to an extent, could see probably around the 60th minute that, we need to change something here. So this is where like the analytical side of football comes into it. This is why, you watch the games back afterwards, you analyze the game, you break them down. Because when you're not at the game in the moment with the players, you get I'm sure Farke might look at the game now, watch it back and go, yeah, maybe there was a little more pressure than maybe it felt like when I was down in the dugout, because it's a different environment. When you can look at it after the game, you can look at the game and go, oh wow, yeah, we did lose the ball. We did just boot the ball long. We didn't get out quick enough. And this is the point, right? This is where you can take these lessons and learn from them as a manager or as a coach, and at any level you have a camera and you can see from a different perspective. It's really important. So it's just interesting because he wanted the point. He wanted to win, which is why he kept it till the 70th minute. He said because he thought we could keep them out for the last 20 minutes. Fair enough. That's your justification. That's trusting the players. That didn't happen, so they scored in the 76th minute. But then it still took 10 more minutes after that to make the subs. So it was kind of like, surely, you know what I mean? It was all a bit kind of, I guess it's just, like I said, I guess it comes down to him trusting what was out there. Even at a point in his head, he's probably thinking, I could bring offensive players on, but that could risk losing the game. And when coming from a winning position, we do not want to lose. We'll take a point in the moment. He's thinking, we'll take a point. We'll get away from this. Fine. We'll build from it. But then made the changes at the 85th minute because there's something in his head clearly and went, well, actually, we might lose this staying like this. Maybe I should make the changes now, which made us more offensive efficiently. So, football's an interesting thing. It's very intriguing.
Yeah, as always. It's culture. It's culture, man.
Yeah, exactly.
It's culture, man. Eventually,
I haven't been an analyst around coaches. You know, it is when you're on this, and this is at like no level with hardly any fans, if any fans at all, right? Just a few stood behind the barriers. Like it's tough choices you have to make, big decisions, and it's on you. You're the leader. You're the one that has to make them. Sometimes you get them right. Sometimes you get them wrong. Sometimes in the moment you're not thinking clear. Sometimes you're thinking emotionally. Sometimes you're kind of too calm. And you've got too much trust in people. Yeah, but it's what it is.
Yeah,
just interesting.
You know,
talk about.
It's always interesting. You know, it's like I said, it is culture. Eventually, you know, we sound like talking about a football game here, analyzing everything like Plato and Socrates. From the 18th school of philosophy, you know, back then. Very good painting, though, that one too. But yeah, you know, another thing that was obvious for me, you know, when we were playing with a back four, was that we didn't have any intensity in the middle. Eventually, it was like that because if you look at us, you know, it's more sustainable with a back three because you allow the players to be more balanced, you know. Especially move a lot off the ball, but in a balanced way with the back four and the three midfielders. Before they switch at Man City, you know, you had the three midfielders going forward, you know, especially Longstaff and Stack, and not having the pace to track back. And that's what happened also with Stack, you know, when they had made the switch after the first half, you know, it was too high in no man's land because he didn't have the pace to track back his players. So eventually, there's always something. And another thing that this game underlines, of course, is that the back four for me is not sustainable from the start now, but it's very reliable if you switch in game. And the other thing is regarding depth, of course, because Gudmundsson was out. There was just Byram, of course, as a backup. He preferred to play, of course, I would have preferred to play him too. I agree with Farke. He preferred to play Justin on the left. He's right-footed, of course. It played out because Justin is like the new Stuart Dallas, playing everywhere. He played also as a right centre back. The problem is, if you have another injury, if Justin gets injured, hopefully not, fingers crossed, who do you play there? You are forced probably to switch because there's no one. There were rumors about Lienu to involve in first team training, you know, probably named on the bench, you know, from the under 21s. Because of the injury of Gudmundsson, you know. The thing is, we are very thin numerically. We had three centre backs, Bornell, Strauch, and Roden on the pitch. If one of them got injured, we probably would have moved Justin in his place and brought on Byram because we don't have any kind of depth there, you know. We've been talking for a month about Dookie, about the centre backs. By the way, from the scouting report, Filippo Mane had his debut in the UCL from the start yesterday against Inter Milan. You know, a lot of talk about also the wing back. We made the scouting report about them, and the final one, of course, is the number 9. With Pirot reportedly refusing to move on because he thinks he's better than the championship for play to him. Because he thinks he has done everything he can in that league. So now he wants to prove himself at a better level, but he's not getting any minutes this season. So it doesn't help his career at 26, you know, to stay in a Premier League side, having 10 appearances all season and having around, I think it was 201, 200 and and 10 minutes, all season in the Premier League. So regarding depth, James Justin is playing great. He's playing great, reliable, like Stuart Dallas was, but praise to him. You can still praise the adaptability and versatility that James is growing into, but also underline the fact that it shouldn't be an excuse. It shouldn't be used like, okay, he's playing well. We don't need anyone else. What if he gets injured or someone else gets injured? Next we are going to play him like as a if Borna gets injured, for example, you move Rodon, of course, in the middle and put Justin on the right, of course. But it's always like Justin is not an utility player. Play him in his best position. He's very reliable, yes. It's another player that was plagued by injuries. And we need to, despite the injuries that happened, because injuries happened, our medical staff managed to keep DCL fit, to keep match after he returned fit, and to keep James Justin fit, in this hectic run, in December. So yeah, honestly, Justin, very good news that we have a reliable player, but let's not move the spotlight from the fact that we need at least someone as a center back and as a wing back. All the discussion around transfers, seem to be focused on the number 9, of course, now, because we need another striker, of course. But let's not forget that we are very, very short in numbers defensively. And James Justin being very reliable. Okay, great news, brilliant. But every team, the Premier League is unforgiving. It's hectic. You face top of position every week. You need depth. You need people that can come on. Because Justin scored against Everton. Yes, he went on. But Gudmundsson offers you way more on that side. Of course, imagine we have Justin on the right for Bogle. You can alternate them because they are on par for me. So far they are on par in terms of contribution right now in this moment of the season. And imagine you can alternate if Gudmundsson is injured or knackered because he basically played every game. A player similar to him, that's depth. And every team has depth in the Premier League. Basically, every team. The teams that don't have that, they are strengthening now. They are making signings.
Yeah. You're right. And people will say, we can't panic, and no one is. Me and Andrea have said this since the start of the season, since the summer window. The players I think we need, and it's purely from a squad planning perspective. Look at the squad. Where are we really short? I'm not saying we need midfielders, we need wingers, we need this, we need that. Look where we're really short and where we've been really short all season. That is full back. Centre back was okay in a back 4, obviously, because they had 2 spare ones. Right now in a back 3, you have 1 spare. That's covering 3 positions. Ideally, you have 3 spare, but obviously, 2 is needed. You need 2 spare in that role. And we're seeing that now. We're literally playing football games in the Premier League without a centre back on the bench. And that's because of 1 injury. Not a load, 1. Just 1. That for me is a worry. Now, of course, people will say, well, Justin can do that. I understand that. But that comes to the other problem. We've always been short all season in wing back / fullback. So now he's got to do that. So now he's the backup fullback who is now playing, and he's also the backup centre back. This cannot be. He's also the backup fullback on the other side as well. You know what I mean? That should not be done by 1 player. That should be 2 or 3. We have 4 goalkeepers. That's been my thing all season. We do not need 4 goalkeepers.
Melia is still here. He's out of contract, of course, but he was born in 2000, so he's going to turn into 26. He's going to turn 26 this season. Of course, if I'm his agent, I'm saying, okay, you run out your contract because that's how agent reason these days, and we got to move this summer, to a club that wants you. But the problem is, after a season when you're not playing any single minute of professional football, okay, you're out of contract. You are under the final year of a Premier League contract because it was signed when we were in the Premier League. But it doesn't help him, because it's 1 year, and the year before he lost his place to Cardarlo. So even I alone doesn't make sense for us, in a certain sense. A permanent makes sense, and you don't get a lot of money, of course. because he's out of contract. You're letting go absolutely almost for nothing, so it's not a profit. Never a chance it's a profit, of course. that's not happening, but it still helps us to get one keeper out, because we have 4 goalkeepers now.
4 goalkeepers.
And even Perry now backup.
Yeah. More goalkeepers in our squad than fullbacks.
Yeah. Maybe one of them can adapt, Maybe one of them can adapt and play.
So I know we have, maybe. Well, we have the same. Obviously, we have 4. We have Sam Byram as well, but we know the role Sam Byram has at the club this year. He won't play. And this is the problem. This is the clear issue for me. This is not chess in where if we get 6 injuries here, we're going to have a problem. We've not needed 6 injuries. We needed 1 at centre back, and then suddenly 1 at full back, and then suddenly our backup centre back, who was our only backup centre back, is now our backup full back. We've got the Biol injury for long term, which is annoying, and now our backup centre back is now our full back, starting full back. I'm worried about it because I don't want this season is us to go down because we had a bad injury thing and we just didn't have any players in certain roles, and we're going at the end of the year, we're going, oh, well, we had problems because we had to play him at centre back, we had to play him in midfield, we had to play him up front. I don't want that. And I feel like, go on.
No, go on, man. Finish.
It's just, hopefully, for me, right, hopefully for me, whatever's going on with the striker, we'll talk about that next. Defensively, I'm not sitting here being greedy, going, we need to bring this. I understand it's probably really difficult and there's not a lot of time and players are hard to get and you don't want to spend money, or can we spend money? Who knows? For me, get a backup fullback, in my opinion, wing back.
Absolutely.
So then Justin can prioritise maybe being the other centre back. I think that's really important.
Absolutely.
Or maybe get a player similar to Justin who can play both those roles for me. So then
absolutely.
you kind of do have double cover
Norton
each side. Yeah, exactly. That's a good name. So for me, that's what we need to do there. Farke did get asked about it, and he said, we won't fall asleep in that role. We will look and see, and we'll judge how long the injury is first. But for me, even without the injury, Goodmanson, I still think it's really important that we have someone there. So I'll just show the graphic that you. There we go.
Yeah, about what we were talking about. As you explained, that's the main need here, and that's the main need here. Like you pointed out correctly, man. Because now with Buonanotte, we have players: Nyonto, Buonanotte, James, Okafor, of course. Piron, Mecha, Calvert-Lewin. In midfield, we have Gruev, Longstaff, Tanaka. You have options. Justin and Bogle, absolutely fine. But the thing is, let's just get another one here as a wing back, left wing back probably. The centre back, because you just have Bo now. Because, of course, if you move Justin as let's say, for example, Biol is injured, or another one is injured. Like at the other times, you had players who were both out, and you had Justin as a centre back, as a braccetto, Then if you move him as an option there, when we have players not available, then you have a gap here too. That's the problem, So honestly, for me, it's 1 centre back, ideally, 1 left wing back, and sell Pirot or loan him out. But he doesn't want to go. But he's not getting any minutes. There needs to be an honest chat there.
I agree.
You were great for us. We are in debt to you for what you did in the Championship. We get that you are not want to move to the Championship, even to top clubs like Ipswich, for example. They ask for you. Let's try to find a solution, maybe in the Netherlands, Feyenoord, PSV, AZ, those clubs. So we can bring in another one, because I think the main need, for us is because of course these Buonanotte and Aronson, not James in this case, when we are playing with a 3-5-2 and not a 3-4-3, they play in midfield. These two, so you have options also, more options if you want to switch in midfield. The problem is that when we are playing with that, let's just, for example, move here. And for example, I'm going to throw James out for that specific reason. When we are playing with a 3-5-2, you have the target 9, advanced forward, to use some FC 26 terms, and then you have Okafor. Gnonto is more of a winger. He can play as a second striker because he did in Italy for the Italy under-21s, different level, of course. But then Pirot, I don't think you need the second striker to be a runner. Pirot is not a runner. With the ball, I mean, not off the ball. So for me, the main one could be Calvert-Lewin is moving all around, and that's, I think, was the thinking behind trying to sign Strand Larsen. Calvert-Lewin, and then you have Strand Larsen as the lone 9. And because Calvert-Lewin can move behind him. It's a more traditional 3-5-2, of course. But I think we need, because of course we are not signing Strand Larsen now, and that's the next topic we're going to talk about. But you need one more versatile, I think, one different from Calvert-Lewin and Mecha. If you're not signing, of course, Strand Larsen. So why not sign like someone that can challenge Okafor in that position and compare very well, making run like hold up, follow in this area, can play right behind the number 9, in that specific sense. So yeah, that's the thinking. So moving on, because I was talking about the number 9 situation. Of course, this morning the news of like we introduced at the start, the news of Strand Larsen moving very soon to Crystal Palace for an offer amounting to around 50 million pounds. Remember that Wolves had to refuse an offer of 55 million pounds for Strand Larsen after his very good prolific season with Wolves last season. From Newcastle, they had refused that offer. Now they are managing to get 50 million for Strand Larsen, who had just scored 1 goal in the Premier League this season. Of course, he needs to be in the right setup. Wolves has changed a lot compared to last season. Leeds had offered around 40 million. That was their offer. Still with the situation of Pirot at the club. And we know that we need to be very, very smart with PSR, so a sale can help with PSR, but that's not going to happen. Probably a loan can help, very little, of course, but at least just a glimpse of hope, in that sense, in order to get another one. The thing is also that Palace are now signing also Evan N'Gessane from Aston Villa. That's a news from, that's a news that I've just read from Fabrizio. They're also signing N'Gessane on loan with the option to buy close from Aston Villa. So they're signing 2 top players. And Mateta is going to leave probably. I remember me typing 1 week ago before it all blew up. I can see Strand Larsen going to Palace if Mateta leaves for you. Probably it's not going to leave for you, but it's going to leave anyway. So the thing is, I'm going to read the tweet also that Graham Smith, made, because I really agree with him, in that sense, regarding the fact that there's this narrative that we don't get Strand Larsen, we don't get anyone. That's a deja vu, to be fair. Like Harry Wilson situation last summer, Our plan A was Facundo Buonanotte. Facundo Buonanotte happened that transfer saga, when he didn't sign and move to Chelsea on loan from Brighton, and we had no plan B till deadline day. And deadline day, we tried to sign Harry Wilson, didn't materialize. We had no plan C. I don't want to relive a similar situation, honestly, where we don't sign Strand Larsen. The money was there, because if you make an offer of 40 million, that making an offer of 40 million is the proof that you know that you need a striker. You need to add another striker. So it's unreasonable, the fact that I'm not signing Strand Larsen, I'm not signing anyone, because you are denying your need. Because if you offer 40 million for a player, you know that you need that type of number 9 to your striker department. Let's call it that. Sounds like a company, but striker department, So I agree with Graham when he says, I know the club are keen to stress that they won't sign any old striker for the sake of signing a striker. But better to know the side you're out of the running for Strand Larsen today than on Monday, and still have the time to explore at least I still have the time to at least explore rabbit out of the art territory. Absolutely. Absolutely. I completely agree with Graham. For me, the real value is, like I tweeted, between 30 and 35. Of course, Wolves are not refusing an offer again from 50, especially with them edging towards relegation. So for play to them, because they managed to get an offer like that in the situation they're in, But for us, mate, there's still time not to repeat the mistakes of last summer. There's still time to get, even for a lesser fee, like, me and you, we are humble individuals, so get the sense of what I'm going to say, But we show on the scouting report, I'm not saying we know better than the Leeds recruitment team, because it's not that is not the kind of person we are, kind of people we are. But like we have shown, there's plenty of opportunities with even lesser fees, that you can get if you really need to sign a player. And we really need to sign a player because we were willing to put in an offer. We put in an offer of 40 million for Strand Larsen. Strand Larsen is not the only number 9 in the world, like the war starts and ends with Strand Larsen. If you don't get Strand Larsen, you can even offer 20, 25, 30 for another player. So because if we don't sign anyone, again, the message going towards the fan is we tried, like Kinnear used to say before he moved to Everton, many times. And the message is the fans will read that like we had no plan B. That's the way it's gonna translate into the fans, like Strand Larsen, we didn't manage to sign him, delusion, disappointment. We didn't have any plan B. So again, it will start again to roll. We tried FC, no plan B. Of course, this window is very important for Adam Underwood. Buonanotte, it materialized because Buonanotte said, I'm not playing at Chelsea, I want out. Let's call Leeds back. I want to play, I want to go. Can you give me guarantees? Yes. Come, we need a player there. We liked you in the summer. So that's why, there's also a lot of agent work, in that sense, There's also a lot of agent work behind the scenes. In this case, we need to be on the front foot. We don't sign Strand Larsen. We have the plan B. We sign another player to give another opportunity to Farke.
Yeah. No, yeah, I completely agree. It's very important. And yeah, just on what you said there about the recruitment stuff, yeah. Like, this is just, I don't want to sound, like, I know what I'm talking about because I'm in the industry. I do hate that, but it's relevant to what we're talking about. Scouts work very hard every day to find players. The scouts are the ones finding the players. They get given, every club's different. They might get given the games to watch and the players, and then they scout them. They create data on them. When you get a big data pool of maybe you've had 5 or 6 scouts do a game on this one player, then you've got a good data pool of the general opinion and the general kind of idea of who the player is, right? But it's not down to the scouts to sign the player. They might suggest, based on their report, which would suggest who they think the better striker is or the better player is. But the actual final decisions comes down to the people above them, which is the directors of football, even the owners at times. It's their money. The manager, of course. They work together to decide from the information the scouts have given you which players to go for. Because scouts, generally speaking, I mean, from my experience, it might be different at every other club. Scouts don't really, when they do your reports, they don't really look into money. Will it be worth it? They're just, is the player good? Tell us. Will he suit the league? Will he suit what the manager wants? Is he right for the club? They don't care about the money side of it. That comes afterwards. They do the reports. These guys get the reports. They have their lists from them reports, and then they make the decisions. So, yeah, I just want to, scouts work very hard to, people went, just to, because I know a lot of people will say the recruitment team, be specific on that, because scouts work very hard for not a lot of money. In most cases, underpaid. Like most positions are in football, by the way, unless you're working big time. Coaches work very hard every day and do not get paid nowhere near enough for it. It's a tough world. It's a tough job, but this is the part of it. You want to get to the promised land. You want to get to the top leagues, the top clubs. That's where the awards come, right? But anyway, I could talk about that for hours about underappreciation in football roles. But anyway, I won't. But yeah, you're right. It's the process. Go on, mate. Sorry.
No, I was just nodding here.
Yeah. So the process is kind of So the reason Strand Larsen would be good for Leeds, one, he's quite risk averse because he's done it in the Premier League and he's proven it. The biggest kind of thing from my experience, personal experience of scouting for teams in a specific league under a specific manager that plays a specific style, the biggest kind of drawback or the thing that you have to consider the most when watching the player, will they fit the league? Fitting the system obviously is important, but the manager might not be there in 3 months. Yeah. Do they suit the league? Right? Do they suit the league? You know, I mentioned last year I was scouting for a League Two team. Every player we looked at in certain areas, generally, are they physical enough? I don't care how good they are technically. Are they physical enough? No, don't matter. Won't work. It's that simple in certain cases when it comes to physicality. So in League Two, obviously, it's a very simpler league to the Premier League, not as tactical, diverse. The Premier League will have its different aspects that you're looking at. Strand Larsen is one of them. He's proven physically he can demand the Premier League, the intensity he can play in the Premier League. Perfect. That's why I guess the club are willing to pay a lot, because it's kind of a bit of a guarantee. I know he's been poor this season, but we know why that is. It's not because of him. It's because of the situation. Everyone's been poor, right? He's a very good player. That's why I think the money is there, if the deal is right, the structure is right, to risk that, because it's not a risk because he's done it. Whereas, and I'll give the counterpoint to this in a minute, whereas signing a player from the continent, there's never a guarantee that they will work in the Premier League. Now, for example, we'll talk about Demirovic. I promise everyone that's watching, Leeds scouts will have done a lot of work on Demirovic. Is a striker in the Bundesliga that's been scoring every season for 3 or 4 years. 100%, there'll be a lot of reports on him. Leeds will be very aware of him. But it comes down to the final judgment is how the people above the scouts think, and the manager as well, by the way, will he work? Is he worth this 25 million, 30 million, whatever they put on him? Is he worth that? Because we don't know, or they might have doubts that he will work in the Premier League for whatever reason. So that's, I guess, the hesitation. But what I will say to counter that, you look at every single club, there is always other options. Now, if you want a striker badly, that you're willing to pay a lot of money for one, you want a striker, you should get a striker. I understand that from one perspective, they might go, we only really want this one because he's worked in the Premier League, and then in the summer we can revisit it. But the risk, sorry, not my mic. The risk there is that striker is so important, clearly, that you want to bring him in January, that you could argue, the club think, we need a striker that bad, which will massively help us not getting relegated. So we could look in the summer, but are we in the league? Right? For me, get a player you think is going to suit the league right now, a player you can bring in. If you can structure a deal to make it work, make it work. We need a striker that is clear, that is evident. They want one, that is clear, that is evident. Do it. Just get one. There will be a lot of names in the list. People say we ain't got lists. We have. It's not down to the list. It's down to the people making the decisions to buy a player from the list, to approach a player. Those are the ones that need to come together now and find a solution to not getting Strand Larsen, which is fine. Yeah. I can. 50 million is ridiculous, right? I'm fine. We can't afford that. That's too much. We're not willing to spend. Fine. I'm not bothered by that. Now let's go get another one.
Yeah.
Please. All right. That's
Absolutely.
my view of it. But yeah.
As
you said, though, this is not me having a go at any one individual. This is just me looking at it from my personal opinion and perspective and my little experience I've had in this situation. If the club wants a position and they really need it, there is backups and backups that should be ready to go, kind of thing. But yeah, Leeds might work a little different. I've not worked there. I don't know. That's my thing. Yeah.
But I was mirroring, the fact that we have our recruitment team, the way they work. This, of course, the man at the arm changed last summer, but there's similarities with the way deals took too much to get over the line, like in the previous 2 seasons, with different management at the helm, Stenson moving to a different role within the 49ers Enterprises Galaxy. So I was mirroring that to the other team under the 49ers umbrella, Rangers Football Club, of course, in Glasgow. They changed because they had sacked Russell Martin, they sacked the director of football. They made changes behind the scene. they had needs, of course, because they were coming from behind, this season. But in general, they already signed one of the scouting reports players of last summer. When we were talking about number 8, Tochi Chukwuani from Sturm. Then they signed Skov Olsen from Wolfsburg, very good signing, and Romans from Westerlo. So yeah, they made 3 signings. They had needs. They made 3 signings. We have made the signing of Bonanotte, but the signing of Bonanotte is, like I said, I'm not playing at Chelsea. I want to play. Let's try to get back to Leeds, where I made the wrong decision. He even admitted that. I made the wrong decision. I want to get back on my footsteps and made the right decision. He used like in Harry Potter, where Hermione has that thing that make the time roll back. Time turner, the time turner. Yeah, use a time turner to go back to the summer and made the right decisions. But yeah, the other thing is, of course, that we have needs, and I don't want those. I don't think they are, honestly, because I know Farke from the way he speaks, that he's keeping everyone in line. Like, let's not get overexcited about this run, because this run can be seen in other clubs probably. Because we have Farke, I don't think that will be the case. But there's different people inside the club. There will always be people that say, "Oh, the squad is working. Let's not change a squad that's working." We have the man that we need. Even Farke said that, but I think he is being also during this window very open under the lines, to show that we need players. He said, "I hope we get players around the 10th of January." He knows that he's very experienced. He knows, especially on first hand after what happened in Norwich, that we need players. We need depth, because again, going back to a chess game, if you lose one key piece, you cannot turn one of the simple pieces. I don't know, honestly, the English term for the chess pieces, honestly. But like, for example, a king, you lose a king and you put a tower in his place. No, that doesn't work. Sometimes it's a good emergency thing, but that doesn't work. So yeah, that's the other thing. But yeah, I think we said all we could about the transfer. Hopefully we'll be back next week and we'll be talking about the new players, what we can expect from them. I really hope so. But yeah, moving on, the scouting reports, of course. Yep, I don't mind. Jump on.
Just quickly to clarify as well. Our talent ID is clearly really good. I mean, the players we've signed, bar maybe Perry so far, although you can't argue he was very good last year, so you can understand why maybe they went for Perry, and that could change. I'm not writing him off. He's been poor this season. Now, everyone else, you can argue, has worked. So the talent ID is there. Like I said, the information the scouts are giving on the players are obviously really good, because the players we've signed work. They work.
Yeah.
They all suit the Premier League, right? So that's good. So it's not that. That's not the problem. We're clearly good at identifying talent. There's a lot of good players we've signed. It's, for me, I don't know. Do you reckon it's from the willingness to spend? Obviously, we know we're under constraints, which obviously makes things a little more difficult.
Yeah.
If a certain club's going, now we want 30 million up front, no deal. It's like, okay, what can you kind of do in that situation? But this is where, obviously, the top DFS in the world are unbelievably good negotiators, aren't they? So I guess it's down to that. I don't think it's down to talent ID at all. That is just what I want to say, because I think the players we have signed, I've always said this, are really good. I like the players we signed. For me, it's just there's always been a few obvious gaps, and they're still there now. That's my issue.
Yeah, and I think we have some wounds, because every time something doesn't, we as a club want to be, as a fan base too, want to be conservative. We want to dream, we want to get the big names, but we also want to be conservative. And that really plays to the fan base when you talk about being conservative, because everyone can remember Peter Ridsdale saying, should have we spent so heavily in the past? Probably not, but we live the dream. So that's like a reminder always. There's always thrown out in this situation to say Leeds spent heavily in the past, and look where it leads us to. It always plays to the fans, like, you know me, I've worked for a club in media. It's a good thing to say to a fan base if you want to justify being conservative. Like, we don't want to repeat what happened in the past, at least without mentioning name of course in that regard. But even in more recent times, another thing could be we spent 35 million on Jorginho Rotter and he didn't save us from relegation, because that was in that specific season. It turned out to be a very good player in the season after, but that season he wasn't the right signing because they wanted to play him like a number 9, but he wasn't. So they can say, okay, we spent 35 under the previous owners, majority owners, because 49ers were minority owners in that season. Under the previous majority shareholder, we spent 35 for a wrong player. So yeah, if we don't have the right fit, we won't spend that. But there's plenty of players, sometimes you need to take the risk, because now these days you see there's another thing that I noticed, like for example Noah Lang. That's an example. I moved to a specific Turkish club that I won't mention, of course, from Napoli now. But players, even Bonotti is another example. Players don't have patience. Like, if they are not playing after getting a move in the summer, after 6 months they want to leave. Even on loan, they want to. The only one that doesn't want to leave is Spiro. Basically, doesn't want to leave on loan. But everyone else wants to leave. Like. Even Douglas Luiz, moved to Nottingham Forest, didn't go well for him. Moved to Aston Villa. They don't have patience. They don't have patience, these days. And even the agent, if my player is not playing after getting a move in the summer, I don't have the patience to wait for him. I want a solution out for him. I want him out of that scenario. So that's really peculiar, in that sense. But yeah, that's the reason for me. The fact that we are being conservative. But like I said, they asked me when I was on Tuesday night, on TV here in Italy. We were talking about the transfer window of Reggiana, because they have sold 4 starters this January. They are just they are on par. Yeah, they are on par with another club in the playout, because the 4 to bottom and the 5th to bottom, they play a relegation playoff basically.
Yeah.
At the end of the season, the last 3 teams go down directly to the 3rd tier. Reggiana is in a negative run on 6 straight losses. And basically, it's not down to the manager. He doesn't have the players. And now they are selling 4 players, So they have replaced them with the different players. So I was talking with one of the other pundits, and he said to me, like, we sold this one and got this one. Better or worse? We got this one and sold this one. Better or worse? And I said, yeah, position for position better, in this case, because you have replaced him. But the problem is, and I want to compare this to the Leeds transfer window, these are good signings, The problem is that you had gaps in the squad in terms of trades, versatility, variety, that are still there. Because if you replace a playmaker with a playmaker, when you have 4 playmakers, for example, the case of Reggiana, and you don't play, and you don't get a box-to-box player, okay, pound for pound, it's a good signing, but you're still missing the box-to-box player. So it forces you to play deep, into your own half. So that's the thing, even with Leeds, it's not about the capability. It's not FIFA, it's not FC when you can compare the players, This is better than this one. You need different players for different traits, and that's also the thing with the left wing back, You need someone that can be like a Gudmundsson, because Justin, he can play on the left, but he's not Gudmundsson, He doesn't offer you can't play like that offensive threat, that attacking wing back like Gudmundsson, So yeah, that's the other thing. But yeah, anyway, now we're gonna move into the final part of the podcast, of course. Like I was saying, the scouting reports are over. We did all the scouting reports about Leeds, so we want to salute these salute. Very good also the term salute, because of what Erling Haaland did yesterday. Leeds through. Love him, honestly, love him. He's always spoken very, very well about Leeds. He's very connected to the club. So yeah, doing that was a nice gesture. Of course, it's not gonna bring justice, because justice was never served, in tribunals, unfortunately. But it's still a good gesture, to show that he understands what it means for Leeds, to remember what happened. Yeah.
2035 He'll be in a Leeds shirt for one season, I'm telling you.
Yeah, hopefully,
Got
man.
it.
He always
year
said
before
that.
he retires. 1 year. He will. I'm convinced.
Absolutely.
When he's old, obviously. When he's old and not the player he was, of course. But I've got a feeling he will be. Just at the end of his career, maybe. We'll see.
Yeah.
I'd love that. That'd be amazing, wouldn't it?
Absolutely. Hopefully, because when it was Derby Salzburg, he did an interview and they asked him, what is your dream? And he said, my dream is to win the Premier League with Leeds. So maybe that happens, in the future, But yeah, as I was saying, we want to salute this transfer window with something more personal, So each one of us has written down 5 players that are not very well known, but we think can be well known, can turn into very good players in the future. They are not connected. They're not suggesting to Leeds right now of what we need in the window, but we wanted to say, okay, watch out for these players. Basically, watch out for these players. I know Lockie has put a lot of variety in his players, but I've gone very straight. I went for 5 players from the second tier in Italy. So yeah, because it's a league that goes a lot under the radar, And one of them, I've written it down, like 4 days ago, is moving to PS2 Eindhoven as we speak. So yeah.
All right. Okay.
But I want you to start with this one because I'll be very, very open. This idea came from Lockie, so he's the one that's going to start in this segment.
There's a few. I'm going to give one that's. I'm going to give an English one. It's the only English one that I've got. Now, I was very cautious of not. There's a lot of players that are kind of young. I didn't want to do them. I don't feel it's. I give them a little more time. But for me, so I've gone for players that are 18 or over. So there's a lad at Manchester City Youth Academy, and I know Manchester City Youth Academy well, obviously, but this is one that's not spoke about. There's loads there that are very spoke about. He's called, and he's not related, unfortunately. I did check. He's called Charlie Gray at Manchester City. Now, I was doing some scouting last season, and he was in one of the games I was watching. I believe it was Manchester City versus Derby, the youth squads, and he played in midfield. And he's now 19. I believe he's had some sub appearances for Man City this season. I can't remember. He might have in the Champions League potentially. Now, he's a central midfielder, defensive midfielder, number 8. More of a kind of sitting midfielder for me. He's a tempo dictator, seriously calm on the ball, makes really good decisions, really smart decisions. For such a young man, he has such composure. I don't know how long you want to speak about these. Mine was quite quick, to be fair, mate. There's not so much to say about him. He's very young. He's not really played in men's football that much. But just remember the name, Charlie Gray. He is a very, very good player. And one that just straight away, he played last year, so I was watching the game, and Nico O'Reilly played in the same game as well before he broke for at Man City. And in terms of performance, Nico O'Reilly didn't look a better player than him. Obviously, he's a different type of player. But he didn't stand out in that game over him. It was very impressive for me. And at that time, I believe when I watched him, would have been months before. I believe he was only 17 at the time as well. Charlie Gray is a player to watch at Manchester City midfielder.
I'll go and check him because honestly, I don't know him. My knowledge about youth football is not comparable to yours. So yeah, my criteria were that I've seen all these players live this season, of course, because they faced Reggiana, the Maroons. So yeah, my first one was I've written down is Yanis Masolin. Actually faced him in the derby, the rival against Modena. That's the first time I've seen him. I had never heard of him before. They basically got him for 700k in the summer from Frank Bournen, second division team in Belgium. Right. And this player, man, is the second coming of Adrien Rabiot. Honestly, he's so similar, but more offensive. His body type very similar. It's 1.97 meters. Who
does he play for again? Just so I
can... Modena. Yeah. He's playing for Modena. Very similar hairstyle to Rabiot too, but yeah, he's turning into a star for them. Because they had signed him like a player for the future, despite the fact that he's 23. So he's not not very young. So basically, after being on the bench for the majority of games, after that appearance at Reggiana, he's been starting the last 7 games, basically. So he's turned into a starter for them, and there's plenty of clubs now from Serie A interested, even from Spain. He's quick, he's tall. He will work for Leeds too, honestly, to be fair in this case. But we don't need one right now in midfield. But it's very similar to Rabiot in possession, even for the body type, but he's quicker, when he gets forward. And 1-2, a lot of movement, between 1-2s, pass the ball, get into the space. So absolutely, I was very impressed by him. I was very impressed. He's gonna get probably a big move in the summer, but I think they'll get around the 7-8 millions, because right now it seems that they are offering 5 millions for him, but he's absolutely gonna turn into a player to follow. He's gonna play in a top tier now, not again in the second tier Italy, I think. Yeah.
Nice. There we go. I was just looking there. He's linked to Inter Milan, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lazio, Villarreal. Yeah, there's a lot of clubs on. If Fiorentina too asked about him, So yeah, there's a lot of good players under the radar in Serie B in the second tier in Italy. But the next one would be the perfect example. The Italian clubs really sleep on them. They don't value them, and they go to play abroad. And eventually they have a good career. That's honestly mental. That's mental, honestly.
Yeah, it's this. This is where. So I'm doing some threads. I'm starting to do threads on X or Twitter.
Yeah.
And a lot of the players I'm going to do threads on are second tier teams, second tier players, and second tier clubs. It is massively slept on, in my opinion. There is some very, very good players in the second tiers in Europe. And there's some examples in here. The next one isn't. Now, this player is having a ridiculously good season, and in fact, his team are having a ridiculously good season, and that is Sami Wissa at NAC in the Eredivisie. So, for a start, NAC are fourth in the league. I think at time there was the other day. I believe they're still fourth in the league. Massively outperforming, their budget, their transfer. They're doing really well, and they're fourth in the league. They're 2 points behind Ajax. So,
wow.
As a team, they are seriously overperforming. So I've actually got an eye on the manager. I look at managers that are overperforming in, teams that are not meant to be doing so well. And he's one of them. So I'll keep an eye on. They play some really exciting football. But Sami Wissa is probably their standout player, in my opinion. There's a few others in there. I'll go through a few, actually. There's Bashket Onal as well on the other wing, who plays on the left side. He's a good winger. He's one that I was going to say. He's an honourable mention. But there's also, let me just get his name, Japanese international, Kodai Sano as well in midfield.
Oh, yeah. I think we mentioned him in a scouting report when we were in the championship. Yeah.
Yeah, he's another one, but he's a little bit more known. Sami Wissa he plays on the right. They do kind of play a back five in a sense, so he's kind of a wing back, but he isn't a wing back.
Last summer, yeah.
He's very offensive and very attacking. He almost plays inside as well. He's just, you watch the player play, and what he exudes is confidence, intensity. You get a lot of wingers who are very kind of reliant on 1v1. Now, what he's very good at is 1v1s. However, it's his intelligence off of that. So, for example, they'll get the ball, they'll take a man on. It's the action after, which is really impressive. The decision to find a pass around the box, or the decision to shoot. He plays with so much intensity and so much confidence. Technically, he's ridiculously good. I don't know how, he's kind of gone under the radar. He's 21 now. I believe he's played for the Netherlands under 21 side, but he's never played for the first team. But I've got a feeling in the next year or two that will be 100% happening. If you haven't watched him, I advise people, obviously, if you can't find the game anywhere, go watch his highlights to get an idea of what type of player he is. Sami Wissa is tearing up the Eredivisie this season, and he just looking at him, it looks like a player that is going to play for a big team in Europe in the next few years. Little kind of older to develop than most wingers. 21. He's not young. He's not old, obviously, but finding his form this season in a good team, really found his confidence. He'll be playing for a big team in a few years. A very big team, in my opinion. He's got, just watching play, he's got everything, quite frankly. Just a consistency thing that he needs to develop a bit more, I guess, to make his numbers even better and stand out even more. Can go a little quiet in games, but when he's on it, he's untouchable, to be fair, on his day. So he's one to definitely watch out for, yeah.
Yeah, I had heard about him earlier. So he's not unknown to me. He's a very good player. But I agree with what you said. I think the Netherlands need to call him up very quickly because he also has, as I'm checking, a Moroccan passport. So if not, especially after what happened with Brahim Diaz, I don't know if Brahim is going to return to the national team. I think he needs to, honestly, they need to forgive him for that penalty. It happens, it happens. It was a bad choice, honestly, in that moment in the AFCON final, but still a great player. But yeah, honestly, usually if a player with a double passport doesn't play or get called up by the country was born into, especially in this case the Netherlands, because he was born in Sittard, he has a chance to play for Morocco. Absolutely 100%. I know. Usually, looking at how Morocco operate, the surely already be in his ear started to make him switch allegiance. To be fair, honestly, yeah.
I didn't actually. I just realised 3 days ago, Fabrizio actually tweeted about him. He said Samuel Issa is now attracting interest from important clubs, whatever that means, already inquiring on the situation for the summer. The winger is having another great season. Interesting.
So he's getting a move, So we named 2 players who are moving in the summer, probably. So probably. So my second one is another one that I've seen. Actually I've seen him score a screamer on a free kick from 40 yards. Like Mateusz Klich used to shoot from. 2-2 Regina Catanzaro. It was a Catanzaro from Verona, basically. 90 years old. I'm talking about Alfagio Cissé, born in Italy, Treviso, but Guinean heritage. Man, honestly, he looks like a veteran. He's 19, right. first season in professional football, in senior football. But honestly, we're talking about a player now. He's also an under 21 international for Italy. I was impressed. He never stops running, especially in the final third. He goes for the ball. When he doesn't have the ball, he goes from left to right to press them. He has a very good older play, can turn around, protects with his body. It's a very good physical body, protects the ball, turns around, ideal number 10, ideal winger, internal winger, inside forward. So that game, it ended 2-2, between Regina and Catanzaro. He scored 2, actually. One was deflected. The second one was a screamer on a free kick from 40 yards, top bins from 40 yards. Insane. With his right foot. He's been very good all season at Catanzaro. So Verona are a selling club. The Italian clubs have slept on him again. They didn't act. PSV and Eindhoven are getting him in this window for 8 million.
Okay.
It's a steal, honestly. Wow. 8 million is a steal, So, and it's a deal for him, because eventually he'll go there and play. Because had he gone to like a Serie A club, probably they would have treated him like a youngster, and not getting and not playing him. There was another player at Reggiana for 2 seasons. The first one he did his ACL. Then last season was one of the top players, Antonio Vergara, who was on loan from Napoli. Actually scored a great individual solo goal yesterday against Chelsea for Napoli, but had not. Napoli, if Napoli didn't have the injuries of Neres and the sale of Lang, probably also Politano, he probably wouldn't have seen the pitch this season because he wasn't playing. He started playing because injuries, and now he's turned into a very good player for Napoli. We already know his capability from the last 2 seasons in Reggio, but again, it's about trusting these players to play. And in Italy, there's this attitude of not playing. There's a player that I know, is a friend of mine because was. When I was at Reggiana in 2018, 2019, it was 16, 17, so we actually, it was in the He was he was in the under 19s, under 18s, Primavera, basically. So we got him into the first team. He made his debut. We were in the first year. Now he's playing in the first year for Pisa, Gabriele Piccinini. But
Nice.
he's worked absolutely very, very hard to get there. He's one of the few players in Italy that played from the third year to the first year. So it's about actually trusting them. And now he played in the third year, second year, first year. Now they started the season with Marius Marin and Abisher in the middle. Now Piccinini, even off the bench, he's getting minutes week in and week out. He even started some games. So yeah, it's about trusting young players to actually perform.
Yeah, I agree. It's the same
Italy,
here.
It's very rare in Italy, to be fair. So good move for Cisse to move to the Netherlands, honestly.
Yeah. I think it's similar here, unless you're an extraordinary talent. I mean, you look at, just thinking of the top of my head, Tyler Morton now couldn't get a chance in the Premier League, could he? He's now playing really well for Lyon, really well. Yep. Playing every week, scoring goal and assist the other day. Yeah, so trusting these young players, I think there's a big stigma. I can only talk about Premier League. Like, obviously, I don't know the reasons for in Italy, but in England, again, I come back to the physical side of it. It's, for me, I think you need a big aspect of physicality in your team. Of course you do, but I don't think every player has to be physical. I think it's massively overlooked. The technical players, the smart players, the ones that make really good decisions, the ones that can feed into these physical players and help them use their physicality better by being these technical players who can help find them and stuff like that. So, yeah, I agree. And leagues like France, leagues like the Eredivisie, for example, Belgium even, they give these young players, and then Premier League clubs buy them for 60, 40 million. Yeah, so yeah, definitely something there, 100%. Now, speaking of, players in France, so the next one is, I don't know how to spell his first name. I believe it's Gessim Yassin. I think it's Gessim. I believe that's how you say it.
Yeah, Gessim.
His last name's Yassin, yeah. Now, he's just moved, actually, from Dunkirk in the second tier, who, by the way, if you've not read about the rise of Dunkirk in terms of the football team in the last few years, it's been ridiculous. I think they're playing in the fifth tier.
I thought you were going to say World War II about the Battle of Dunkirk.
Yeah, no, yeah. I had to clarify the football team. But it's really impressive, by the way. And they're now, I believe, they're fifth or sixth in the league in the second tier in France, and they're pushing for promotion. And they've got some really good talented players there. There's 4 or 5 that I actually quite like. But Gassim Yassin has just left. He's literally just joined Strasbourg, I believe, in the last week. So I were a week late on this one, unfortunately. But he's another winger. I like my wingers, as you know, Andrea. I believe I've got pretty decent judgment of wingers as well.
Really? I didn't know that. Thanks for telling me.
Yeah, you're welcome. So the move to Strasbourg's interesting because I actually think it's a tough one for him. I do think he's a very good player. In last season, Dunkirk played PSG in the cup, and he played, and in that game you could see there's some real quality there. His problem for me would be adapting to the intensity of the top tier in France. It's a very physical league. Now, again, I've just mentioned about physicality. As a winger, he is very direct, very direct. He's very brave. He likes to shoot a lot. Now, my issue is a lot of his actions come from deeper areas because he wants to get on the ball a lot. So he'll drop deep too much. Now, in the second tier in France, that worked because he had the quality and the players weren't as good. So he could drive forward past 2 or 3 players at a time and get a shot. In the top tier, he'll need to adjust the way he plays. He'll have to play higher and really relish 1v1, cutting inside onto his left. So if he can adjust that, and I think that'll take a while. I don't think he'll, this season particularly, I don't think he'll play loads at Strasbourg. But next season, maybe there's one there. But he's a small, technical, again, another player who I believe, plays for Morocco, the under-20s. So Morocco, again, just producing ridiculously good wingers. So
he was born in France. He was born in France, but I said, if you don't get picked up, from the, in this case, the new French national teams, they are right into you if you have a passport. So that's why he's there,
So he's another one that, and he's got the move. This is the move I thought he would get next season, but he's got it in January, which is interesting. Right in the middle of a promotion for his team as well, which must be gutting for them because he's probably one of their best players, if not the best. So yeah, definitely want to watch. Definitely want to watch. 100%.
7 million, man. By the way,
Yeah,
they got him for 7. So absolutely, it's a lifesaver for them.
yeah.
As a small club. I visited Normandy. Of course, it's not Normandy. Dunkirk, yeah, it's Pas-de-Calais. I visited the regions like in 2015. It's a very good football region. Now Caen are absolutely rocketed down. They are, I think, in Championnat National the third tier and not doing well.
Yeah.
Havre are doing very well. New stadium too in the last decade. But yeah, even Bayeux, they played a game, I think, against Lyon or Marseille. No, Marseille in the Coupe de France. So it's a good region. I think there's a lot of potential there. And especially Le Havre, they have a very good academy. They produce Pogba, Mahrez, Kanté, I think too. No, not Kanté. Sorry, Kanté was a Caen. But yeah, plenty of them like Pogba, Mahrez. There's also others, but I can't remember. The Mandanda, I think too. Yeah, there's a lot of good academies in that area. Yeah. So we'll stay with the French player, by the way, or at least born in France, because of course, like you said, Yassine plays for Morocco under 20s. Talking about Gadi-Pierre Beyoukou Bouvuton Koi. He has a passport for DR Congo. Gadi Beyoukou. It's commonly known as Gadi Beyoukou, basically. He's playing for Modena, like Massolin. So two French players from Modena. 20 years old, French under 20 international. He was at the World Cup with them, under 20 World Cup. He's first time I've seen him was at the Derby away last season. 20 years old, already tall, physical, wing back. He's a wing back.
Right.
He has insane speed, to be fair. Good physicality. Needs to improve in terms of his decision making, but considering the fact that Modena got him last season, at the start of last season, from the youth team of Triestina in the third tier in Italy, and Triestina had got him from Bobigny in France. So it was under the radar because he had played for Versailles and then Bobigny youth teams.
Right.
So got under the radar. He's a very good player, very good player. And the one it's been linked now with Basel, Stuttgart, Lorient, RB Salzburg, Standard Liège, and Juventus. I think Juventus, if they get him, they probably loan him out to another club. But yeah, you see the likes that have been, and he's not been playing much in terms of he's playing basically every game, but they use him like an impact sub a lot. He's probably started just 6 games because they've got now Zampano from Venezia. Venezia were relegated side last season, so Modena want to get promoted, so they don't really have time for a player to develop. They use him as like an impact sub mainly, especially around the 60th minute, around the hour mark. Yeah, they are very, very promising for me.
Nice, man. Sorry, if I'm looking over here, I'm just getting my next one. I am listening. I promise. I'm just sorting my next one out. Don't worry. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it's no more introduction. We're going back to France. We're going back to Dunkirk. So the reason why Dunkirk, I watched them. I did an assignment for something the other day, and one of the games I had to watch was a Dunkirk game, and I went, "Oh, they've got some good players in here." To be fair, so another one. Now this one's a bit different. I don't think I'm going to do a thread on this player. I don't think this player has as high a ceiling as the other ones. But the reason I put him in here, because I think he's underappreciated. I think he can play in a top tier league. 100% for me. He could definitely play in, the top tier in France or Germany, for example. I think he'd suit them well. I do. And his name is Enzo Bardelli. Enzo Bardelli. Now,
he's a fake Italian man, probably.
Yeah, fake. I was looking. I was looking for is he part Italian? But it
doesn't surely, man. There's plenty,
somewhere.
Like Corsican or Italian. Corsicans are of Italian ethnic group. Like Cantona originally was. His father was from Corsica, Cabella. There's plenty of people. Platini. There's plenty with Italian heritage. I think he has Italian heritage, probably. Looking at the surname and the name.
If he's called Enzo Bardelli, he's not slightly Italian, then
Enzo Auditore.
There we go. But yeah, anyway, so he's 24 years old, so a little older. And like I said, this is a slightly different one. Now, the reason I'm putting him here is because when I was watching him, and this is in the same team as Yassin, sorry, exactly the same team, played together. He stood out more in terms of, not in terms of ceiling and in terms of, individual brilliance, but in terms of how effective he was minute per minute for the team. Bardelle was leagues above anyone on the pitch. Now he's a small, very small. He's about 5'6". He's 1.73 meters. He's very small, very short. Now, this is for me what's limited his move. And this is where I have a little bit of rant about modern football and how it's too obsessed with physicality. And players like this, who if he was 5 inches taller, will be playing at a top 10 team in France, in my opinion. I think that's the problem. Now, I understand look at Aronson. He's not physical. Look at him now. He's found a way to use his talent away from physicality to be effective. Now, what I love about him, Enzo, is he's such a smart player. I know it's easy to say that, but what I mean by that is he's constantly, every move, every pass, he wants the football. But he's not just standing there asking for it. He's always moving. It's little micro movements at times, little adjustments, little shifts, stuff like that. He's always moving. And every single time he gets the ball, every time, first instinct, can I turn? Can I attack? Every time. And he does. He'll find spaces. What he's really good at is drifting off the shoulder of the midfielder, getting the ball on the half turn. His body's never flat. It's always on the half turn, always looking. First touch forward, then you're in. It creates. Aronson does it really well. When he gets it on the half turn, we're in, right? Suddenly we're going, we're in here. Bardelli's exactly the same in that sense. Now, what I will say about him is someone that is so small and so kind of, I guess that's the issue. I guess that's what I think.
Maxime Lopez. Lopez.
Yeah.
Similar. Yeah.
I was speaking about Vitinha as well, a player who, got criticised at Wolves massively a few years ago for being similar, not big, not strong enough. Look at him now; he's the best player in the world. Players can work when they're not big enough. You have to find the right environment for them. You have to find the right team, the right coach, like any player, And Bardelli for me is a player who, and just from watching him, he dominates games. He's a bit of a throwback to, I guess, late 2000s midfielders that would just pass and move, pass and move, pass and, you know what I mean? Those type of players. Very get the ball, pass it. What can I go forward? Can I attack? Can I play? Yep, good. But you can also sit in front of the back four as well. You can sit there, dictate the ball. Where's it go? After he's pass it, instantly he's thinking, where can I move? Where's the space? Where can I affect the build up? That's what he is. I won't say he's a goal machine or an assist machine. He's got good numbers this year, but obviously that's the level of the league. But in terms of build up and progressing and keeping the ball, it's instances, it looks like Tanaka in that sense. When Tanaka's confident and he's on the ball, he's moving it. There's a bit of that to him. And the reason he's in here, because for me, he can 100% play in the top tier in France, in Germany. I'm not going to say Premier League because he's only played in the second tier in France. So you can't just say that. There's a lot, you need to make your steps, obviously. But for me, he can. He got released at Lille a few years ago, joined Dunkirk in the second tier, has been there now, I believe, for 3 years. And every season, he's got solid numbers. He's got better and better. And he was the main reason that team ticked. He had the individual qualities in Yassin, but he was the reason that team that team created. He was the reason that team moved the ball. He was the reason everything in there. If you took him out of that team, they would struggle massively. Enzo Bardelli, a massively underappreciated player.
I've seen he's been linked with Samsun Spor in the Turkish Super League and Saint-Etienne in Ligue 2. So if Saint-Etienne get him, probably they're one of the top teams in terms of prestige. I'm not really following the French second tier, but in the table they are fifth. 34 points. Saint-Etienne, 41 points. The league leaders, 36 points. The second place team, Red Star, not the one of Belgrade, the one of Paris. Paris, sorry, not speaking French. Paris, we are speaking English.
This is my point, right? I could see him going to Turkey because I think, like you said earlier,
they have the money.
They have the money, of course, which...
They just got a player from Reggiana too, Samsunspor.
All right.
Yeah,
Nice.
he was on loan at Reggiana from Verona, Elias Tapson. He returned to Verona, and Verona sold him in 2 weeks ago from 1 million euros to them. So they have the money if they want to get a player.
But the fact that there's not, Saint Etienne, who are in the second tier, obviously one of the biggest budgets. But the fact there's not top league teams in France wanting the player it's beyond me. Maybe my judgment is really bad. I don't know. But for me,
think so.
You watch a game, and I weren't even watching for him. I was watching for Yassin, the winger. But I went, who's this guy? He dominated it, pass and move. And I've watched 3 or 4 games of him now, and it's exactly the same. Even against PSG when they played in the Cup, played a different role, very low block. So yeah, it was very deep. In the little moments where he got the ball in tight spaces, he'd wriggle out of it, he'd find a pass, he still did the same things. For me, if you play him in the midfield 3 with potentially 2 box-to-box runners, a physical player who can do all that side of the game, and you let him play, for me, he'd thrive in the top tier in France or even Germany. I think he'd do well. Yeah.
I'll watch him, honestly. I'll have a watch because, I don't watch a lot of French football, to be fair. Now they're showing in Italy, but only watch the big games, to be fair. But my next one, always, like I said, in Serie B, Cesena, a striker, Christian Spendi, one of 2 twins, one half of 2 twins. His twin is playing for Empoli, Steven Spendi. Both born in Ancona, Italy, but they're both playing for Albania. Christian is playing for the senior team, and Steven used to play for the under-21 side. Now probably is gonna get called up. Cesena had refused an offer from Al Sadd in the Qatar Stars League, because they were offering him big money, but I think he's grown into their academy. So if they're gonna sell him, I think he at 22 years old, he wants to move to he doesn't want to move to Qatar, honestly, at this stage of his career. Another one that very versatile. He doesn't seem physical, but he has a good hold up play. He likes to engage with the centre back. Usually goes in the final third, he moves and then makes the run in front of the centre back to get the through ball. It's usually what he does. But a lot of maturity. One of the leaders at Cesena has been there for ages, because he's a product of their academy too. Nice. So he's like one of the leaders in terms of being vocal on the pitch. He's a player that has a strong personality. I remember him against Reggiana. He was down. He went down in the penalty area. Then, of course, the referee didn't blow anything. Didn't blow his whistle. Then he was returning back to the halfway line. And there was the assistant of the sporting director of Reggiana on the bench that was shouting at him like, "Get up! What are you doing? Get up! Don't do that!" And he was replying to him like they were engaging a back and forth. He was on the pitch. And they were like, I don't want to say that, but what they were doing. So he has a big personality because the assistant sporting director is around 40, and he's 22. So they were like engaging in a heated conversation, let's say that. So good personality. And his brother, I think he's better than his brother, honestly. Steven. Christian is better than Steven, but even Steven is a good player. Had some injuries in the past. He's performing better than his brother this season at Empoli, but Spendi, he scored against Reggiana the penalty and the 2-1 for Cesena. The second one was a long ball from the middle behind the centre back. He made the running behind, outsprint the centre back and the scorer. Stopped the ball into the box, like to get the ball into the box and let's shoot. Got the goalkeeper out of position and score. So good striker for me. Probably get a move in the future.
Nice. Was that your 4th or 5th, Andre?
Yeah, the fourth one. I still have one. Yeah, the final one.
I'll go. I'm trying to think the final. I'll go very quick on mine because I'm very conscious of time as well. So I don't know how to say his first name. It's very difficult. So I think it's Gausao Diakite for Lausanne Sport, who's on loan from Abbey Salzburg, actually. 20-year-old.
Our friend.
Yeah. So, having a very good season in...
Gausao Diakite. Yeah.
There we go. Yeah, and a very good season in Switzerland. Obviously on loan from Red Bull. He's a striker / number 10. I think he's better suited to the 10 role personally. I actually think he'd be a good winger as well. I think there's development there. For me, I don't think he's got quite nuance to be a striker in the modern day. I think he's a better number 10. He's a creator. He's a player that's better with freedom. Some of his best moments when I saw him, I think he played against, who was it against? It was the team that Schmidt used to play for. What's they called?
St. Gallen.
Yes, it was Luzon Sports versus St. Gallen. And he played as a false 9 in that game. And his best bits, he just drops deep, he just gets the ball, and I love attacking players. He turns and he just drives forward, and he's so quick and direct and confident as well. I think any player can be quick, any player can be direct, but within that, that's why I like Bardelli. It's, are you making good decisions to do that? You know, for example, we see Okafor at times. He's direct, but there's times where he shouldn't be, right? I think what I like about Diakite is how for a young man at 20 as well, how good his decision making is when he does drive. He doesn't give the ball away easy. He doesn't create loads of turnovers. He's very effective. He'll win fouls as well. There's kind of a maturity to him for someone that's so young and raw, and he is raw. There's still a lot of development to go there. This is why, you know, you're trying to get him in early. There's a lot there for me. There's a player there that can seriously affect one of the top teams in top leagues in Europe in the next few years, 100%. Obviously, it's on loan at Lausanne from Salzburg, so there's clearly something there. You know, they have a good talent network at Salzburg. We know this. But for me, yeah, really fun player, joy to watch. You know, modern football can be quite taxing at times. Just to have a player that's a little bit rogue, a little bit individual, just likes to play his own game. You know, really creative on the ball, likes to take players on, good skills. You know, I kind of like the raw side to him. It makes him a little unpredictable and a little fun to watch. But he's an attacking player for me in number 10. I think it'd be best as number 10. Maybe it's a false 9. Maybe it's a winger. Don't know yet. But yeah, he's one to watch, I think.
Yeah, I know him actually because when we were doing the 9 scouting report, striker, not 9 necessarily, last summer, you know, I was looking at the players of RB Salzburg. Karim Konate was actually, I didn't include in the end in the scouting report because he was out for a while. He had a serious injury, and there was also, of course, in the network, Diakite. So yeah, he's a good player. Not ready yet for the big moves, of course, but yeah, there's something there, like you said, you know, 20 years old. So yeah. My final one actually is a player that I included in my extended list when we did the number 8 scouting report last summer, you know, because he had already shown promising things when he was in Serie A with Venezia last season before they got relegated. Talking about Issa Doumbia, number 8. Number 8 with the shirt, jersey number, you know, and number 8 on the pitch. Seeing him again against Reggiana, another player that is physically ready for a move to a top league.
Who does he play for again, Andre?
Venezia. Plays for Venezia, yeah. So physically, plays also for Italy under 21s. Physically is ready for a big move for me. Maybe he needs to stay because I remember when, like 2 weeks ago, they came here to play against Reggiana. Absolutely dominated Reggiana 3-1. I think, if I remember correctly, 3-1 was the score. He faded into the game because he got out of steam in the end, but never stopped running. Another player that moved all around, progressed with the ball, good ball carrying, physicality. He's a player that absolutely will be ready. Of course, you need to have some patience because he's 22. And moving from the second tier, but I think it's a player that can be ready for a move to the Premier League or at least the Bundesliga or La Liga. I was looking at the links, you know, it's been linked to Celtic, Espanyol, and Club Brugge. So yeah, Club Brugge building to him tells you a lot. Honestly, looking at the last players that have got signed, you know, I was really impressed. Honestly, I think if he makes the right career decisions, he surely appear for Italy very shortly. He surely be capped by Italy very shortly, honestly, if he makes. I suggest he goes to play abroad, like Cisse. honestly, because there's the best path to progress, honestly. Or because otherwise he'll have to move to a mid-table Serie A club, or maybe he will suit Como, honestly. He will suit Como. I don't know if they are interested in him, but I see him featuring at Como, honestly. Not as a starter, of course, as a backup, as a player, a substitute, basically. But yeah, pay a box-to-box physical player with good pace, so absolutely one to follow. 22 years of age, and they got him like last season when they were in Serie A not last season when they got promoted. No, last season actually. They started last season when they were in Serie A, and they kept him in Serie A from the third year. Albino Leffe in the third year. So they got a player from the third year and they kept him in Serie A. That happens very rarely, honestly, in Italy, when a player from the third year is kept in a Serie A squad and not sent out on loan. So they really believe in him. They really believed in him, and now he's a key player for them. So absolutely. Also have another very good player. Then is older than the name, of course, Quique Perez. They signed him in January from Valladolid last season. Also have Buzio, that I'm sure you know, the American one.
Yeah.
And also another one that they signed from Rako Czestochowa last in the winter January transfer window last season. John Yeboah. He's still there. He's absolutely bossing in Serie B, honestly. 25 years old. A winger.
Nice. Yeah. Well, I think we'll leave it there, Andre.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll leave it there. As always, but like a comment said, after the last video, I want to also check who made that comment, because I want to read it properly, because it's good to mention the 2 hours. Basically, SB6671 said 2 hours is the new standard. Great video. Also made a compliment about me on great, and that was great on Just Pod yesterday. Thank you very much. It's the new standard for us, basically, the 2 hours line. Talking about these things. It's got to be, that time flies when you talk about things you like. We had another talking point, but I think we'll leave it for next week. Probably. I want to also say a thing, absolutely. I want to also say a thing, I appreciate the support, the following. We might have some changes in store for the future. I don't want to dive into those, because I like the surprises, but we're studying some changes, keeping the current form, but also having some different episodes, with certain things. So stay tuned. Stay tuned on that. Always great, man. Hope everyone enjoyed that. Don't forget to I'm turning into a proper YouTuber now. Don't forget to like and subscribe. like some of our friends will say, of course we are not we are just here for the love of football. We are not we don't call ourselves, we just because we have other careers, but we use this as a way to talk about and exchange opinions and hopefully influence and really suggest deep research to everyone following us and enjoying what we do. So Lucky, thanks as always a pleasure, and
no worries.
See you.
I just want quickly say
the final one.
Go on. The love that.
We love Leeds. We all love Leeds.
So with that, very quickly, news flash: Lucas Mecha to miss Arsenal with a hamstring problem. Diol out until probably after Forest, and Goodmanson has a little chance to make Arsenal, but likely to miss the weekend.
That shows that probably we need another striker, because Mecha, like I said, fair play to the medical team for keeping him fit so far, but you have to take into consideration that things up. But anyway, like I said, we all love Leeds. Was the animation? Yeah, we all love Leeds. Yeah.
Top Gear, and on that bombshell, it's time to say goodbye.
Yeah.
See you later, everyone. Bye bye.